So to put it back together, it's basically the complete reverse order of what we just did. You got to take your valve, and mine doesn't need to be oiled because it still seems to have quite a bit of oil on it. So yeah, I'm pretty confident with mine being okay. This goes in here. The other thing I'll tell you is this pin here. Sorry for jumping all over the place. But this pin here, if you take these little C-clips off, you can actually take this whole valve assembly out the other end. But for simplistic sake, I'm doing it the exact same as you would for a spider. That way there's not a whole lot of confusion. So, small end goes to the back of the gun, like towards your grips, and the two holes should be up and down. I don't know if you can see it there, but you can start to see it. And then you just push it down until it's in line, and it should actually sit up against that pin, and everything will lock in place there. Like, I can't push that down anymore. And then you can put this set screw back in. I'm going to put my spring guide on, put my spring back on. Now, you're going to see a hole in the bottom of this. That has to face down because that little set screw that we took out actually seats up into that. So I'm just inspecting it. Once again, it's well oiled. There's no big scratches, not a whole lot of dirt. Just a little bit I wiped off there. The puncture pin looks good. So that's how this all goes back in, which is kind of wobbly. So you kind of have to hold it with your finger until it all lines up. When you're pushing this down, do not push on the puncture pin there, as that's another way that they can commonly break. Now the tricky part is to get that pin to come through the valve. And just a little shake like that's normally enough to do it. It's looking like I did not get that groove down. So chances are I'm going to delete this section out because I may be screwing with this for a second to try and pull that and get it turned around the right way. Okay, so I finally got all the internals back in there. Just fair warning, that is the trickiest part, is putting them back. Getting them out's easy, in sucks. But if you do take this cap off, the one for the bottom line, when you're putting that the puncture pin cradle back in, you can kind of see right there if it's pointing the right direction. That kind of gives you one last glance before you have to put it into spot, and then it's just kind of a balancing act to get it in so you can put your set screw directly into that hole. And once it's all back together inside, we can move on to put that transfer cap back on. Take your seal. Once again, give it a good look, make sure there's no nicks, tears, things like that in it. Put it in, take your cap, make sure it's clean, put that on. Alright, and that's the basics of the body back together at this point. You can take and put your hammer back in. Make sure that you have the shear side down. O-ring goes forward. Yeah, mine's still good with oil. May want to put a drop of oil on that. Just set it in, because your bolt has to go in on top of it, and the two have to be connected together with that little metal rod that you see in between. And you can push them forward. And you'll see a lot of people put this in after they put the grip back on and just kind of pull the trigger and you'll see it kind of like snap down in 3 stages. You can do that, but you run the risk of ruining your O-ring on that bolt. So if you have it apart to this point, you might as well just put it in now and save yourself a little bit of grief down the road. Spring buffer. Oh, pin and the back cap all together. No, I'll do it this way. And that's basically the body together. All I'm doing is putting the magazine and the CO2 cap on at this point, just for simplicity's sake, nothing more. If I can keep a hold of that CO2 cap. Put that on, set that aside, bring my grip frame back in, just put the grips, need to put our trigger guard back on. And then our grips. You have to be careful of that. That does have a tendency to kind of pop out just as you've seen. The idea is, however, that the grips themselves actually hold that into spot. Then simply put the grip back on the frame. And there we go. That's complete disassembly and reassembly. Still works good. Safety works. The next stage would be to put some air in it and make sure nothing leaks. Unfortunately, I don't have a 12 gram at the moment, so I can't do that. But as soon as I get a 12 gram, I'll definitely be checking it where I had it apart there. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask away. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. If you need any help doing this, if you attempt it yourself, please feel free to shoot me a message if you get stuck somewhere, and I'll try and help you along as best I can with that as well. Alright guys, thanks.